I must make a disclaimer before this video starts that I do not endorse smoking and actively support the act of quitting smoking. Some resources to help quit are linked down in the description. YouTube, please don't take this down, and if you have any takeaways from this video, let it be that smoking is bad. Now this video is quite a departure from what I normally do. Normally, you know, I sort of make my skits. I've only ever done one other video like this, and that was filmed 2 years ago. I just think I should be wearing something a bit different. It's better. Ugh. Right, now, I've seen a lot of films. I'm sure you have too. I've made a few films. You might have. Judging by my demographic, hi Noah. Go watch some of my films. Go watch some of your own films. Go watch a few films. A lot of films have people being sad in them, and there is one way in which most films portray someone being sad through a simple action: smoking a cigarette. I can't get my lighter out. This was going to be cool for the intro, but I couldn't get my lighter out of my pocket. I was going to like have it cut to the title card when I went smoking a cigarette, but I didn't have the time to get my lighter out of my pocket. So you're going to have to do with this cut to the title card instead. Cigarettes have been used to show someone sad since before films existed. I mean, we've all seen this picture of the Van Gogh smoking skull. We've all read the picture of Dorian Gray. You know, they all have people smoking to signify sadness. Smoking is always presented as a sad activity, most of the time. Now, we all know this. It's because smoking is a coping mechanism. It's a stress response, you know. I could go into the chemistry of it, I could go into why, but I'm not going to. Smoking, right? It's a stress response. It's when you smoke. There's nicotine in your brain, and that mirrors what dopamine does. So it makes you all happy, and it makes it seem like the world isn't falling apart. With the advent of the moving picture in the 1920s, it was guaranteed that smoking would appear, because everyone did it at the time. Everyone smoked back then. But let's fast forward a bit. Picture the scene. 2001, the grass is green, the birds are singing, there's planes in the sky. That's one of the films I'm going to talk about. That's what I'm talking about now. I'm talking about Bridget Jones. Now you may remember at the turkey curry buffet, Bridget starts by saying how she's trying to quit smoking. Well, this becomes central to the plot. Every time she gets rejected by Mark or Daniel, or any time something goes badly for her, we always see her smoking in the next scene. A scene I really want to talk about is this one. I hope it's not the picture of her arse, but honestly it's going to be how I feel in editing, so it might be a picture of her arse. In this scene specifically, she turns up at the party dressed as a rabbit, and she's not meant to be, so she goes off to go around the corner, she runs away from the party, and she sees her father, dressed as a priest, sat on a bench, having a solemn cigarette by himself. Now you'd think this would be a normal thing. It's a party, people are going to be smoking, you know. Weirdly, for the time, this film being chock-a-block with rich people, there's not much smoking going on, other than away from the party. I'll come back to that one later. Her dad's sad, he's having a cigarette, they share a sad cig together. As the 90s and noughties rolled around, smoking was seen in a much worse light. There was a lot more talk about quitting smoking. You know, in 2008, the pictures on the packets with the lungs, you know, this one, were introduced. And then later on, I think it was 2015-ish, they started making them all the same colour, an unappealing colour, Pantone 448C. This is only in the UK, I don't know about other countries because I don't live in them. Back to Bridget Jones. There's a bird going mental over there. But back to Bridget Jones. Her and her father are sharing a sad cigarette. And then this is reflected later on in the film. They are sad watching TV, smoking, completely broken, completely beaten down, it's their rock bottom. But honestly, smoking, watching TV, it's just an average day, innit? This later scene gets my point across beautifully though, because they always smoke when they're at their worst moments. The constant reminders of how she keeps track of everything through the diary format make it very easy for the audience to see how she's doing without explicitly saying it's been a terrible month. The diary format also is full of bullshit, but I'll get to that in a different video when I go on about diet culture and slimming world, and I get absolutely irate about it. In the next Bridget Jones film, I can't remember much of that film, I'm going to be honest. I'm sure they talk about smoking a lot more and quitting, but I can't remember it. I just remember the fountain scene. Smoking can also be seen as a mourning tool. That bird is really annoying. Smoking can also be used as a mourning tool. You know, not mourning the time, although a cigarette and a coffee when you wake up is great and all, but mourning like the death kind. A lot of films have a scene at a funeral with someone smoking. Put a frame up. Editor me, work your magic. I'm not here to talk about funerals. I'm here to talk about... By 2004, which is the year... That bird is pissing me off. By 2004, which is the year Shaun of the Dead was released, talks of the Public Health Act were going around, which was to ban smoking. Amongst other things, it did ban smoking in public areas. Now, when Liz and Shaun break up, one of the reasons is that Shaun hadn't quit smoking. This comes back later on, when Liz and Shaun have a cigarette in the face of certain doom, as sort of like the soldiers in the trenches having a swig of gin before they go over the top. They also give their friend Ed a final cigarette as his sort of last wish when he's dying, as, you know, sort of to comfort him. After this time, you do see a very sharp decrease of smoking in film and television, now being reserved almost exclusively to either showing someone's rapid mental decline or a period piece where it's more commonplace that people smoked around that time. Take Bridget Jones's Baby, for example. Didn't think I'd come back to Bridget Jones, did you? Everyone in the first two films was quite a heavy smoker, but now none of them smoke. Granted, a few of them have had children, but even the ones who haven't still don't smoke, because it was released in 2018. In 2002, 25% of adults in the UK smoked, but by 2018, which is around when it was released, that had gone down to just 16%. Graphic. Now, cigarettes going out of fashion was mainly due to health risks, but also, partially, in my opinion, due to a direct result of them becoming more accessible to people of a lower social standing throughout the late 20th century. And we all know how posh people are about doing things the same as everyone else. This was quite quickly replaced by them smoking through other means, more exclusive means. The posh people, they love fancy cigars. Hipsters, they love smoking out of pipes. You know, it's just because you need all that shit to smoke a pipe. Poor people can't get all that shit. They just have a cigarette. No, we have an expensive cigar and a pipe. I'm not going to go into the intricacies of it or make some large socio-economic statement because, frankly, I don't have any authority to do that. I mean, it's not like I have any authority on much. I'm just in my garden speaking to a camera. This door doesn't go anywhere. These have both been locked as long as I can remember. That's my kitchen. I don't have any authority on this. Social smoking is one of the prevalent ways in which people who don't smoke, smoke. It's normally while drinking at a pub, so their sort of reasoning is impaired, and their friends are all going outside and having a fat. You get a bit of air outside the stuffy pub, and you end up having a cigarette you weren't really supposed to. This is probably one of the biggest reasons that people start smoking in the modern day. You start smoking socially, and then every time you go out somewhere you think, oh, I could do with a cigarette, because your mind's on it, because you're out. And then you end up, you end up addicted to it. Tobacco smoking has been around for thousands of years, but our story starts in the 17th century. because tobacco's not grown in Europe, because it's cold here, it was quite expensive when you first got it. Getting it over here is quite a hassle and was quite expensive. You either need to boat or to buy it off someone with a boat, and boats are expensive and that. This means, in the early days of smoking, back in the 17th century, tobacco was an expensive commodity, reserved only for the upper classes. So it became a sort of status symbol. If someone saw you smoking tobacco, they were like, oh, they're rich, they can afford tobacco. They've got enough money for this luxury good. By the time of the Industrial Revolution and steamships, tobacco became much easier to access because boats were cheaper and shipping stuff across the Atlantic was a lot cheaper. So everyone started smoking. You know, everyone had a pipe or had a cigarette. This made it slowly fall out of fashion in the upper class. It just sort of it didn't become a status symbol, it sort of was just a nothing of a thing that everyone does now. And by the 1950s, everyone was smoking. Like, your mum was smoking, your dad was smoking, your baby was smoking. And then, doctors came about in 1954 and went, this is bad for you. Now, quitting smoking is hard. I've tried and I've failed several times, if you couldn't tell. But there are alternatives. The main alternative, nicotine patches, which were developed in the 1980s and were quite expensive at the time. So it made it a lot easier for people with more disposable income to quit smoking. And by the late 90s and early noughties, the emergence of the chav subculture in Britain started, you know, appearing. One of the biggest caricatures of a chav is the pregnant woman with the cigarette. Throw a picture up. We all know the joke. And as the years moved on, the alternatives to smoking got a lot cheaper and more accessible, and vaping, or e-cigarettes, sort of became a lot more popular in the 2010s. I have my own opinions, but I won't get caught up in that. They were renowned for being used by hipsters until sort of a bit later in the 2010s, when vaping hit an all-time high in 2019 with the popularisation of the disposable vape. Disposable vapes, they don't require the expensive devices, they don't require any know-how to use them, and they're really cheap, with most coming in at about £5. They taste sweet, so they don't taste bad like a cigarette does. Everyone could get one, because every corner shop had loads of them. Vaping is just not good in any way. Tastes bad, it's bad for you, but it was really accessible, which led to a massive decline in smoking. Smoking's pretty much over now. I mean, you don't see it in films unless it's a period piece. You don't smoke, because smoking is bad. Don't vape either, because vaping's also bad. My script's run out, and I was going to riff on it for a bit, but I can't think of anything else to say. Just don't smoke, don't vape. I'm gonna have another cigarette.